Hello YouTubers, it's your host CP and I'm back. It's going to be episode 4 I suppose. And today we're going to talk about how to mastermind your income for success in a pandemic. And I keep coming back to a pandemic because that's when all of my YouTubing days have begun, unfortunately. And I also want to say as well that in order to mastermind, you have to have certain characteristics. And let's get right into those characteristics. The first characteristics that you need to do is you need to have an open mind. If you don't have an open mind, you're never going to accept reality, and you're never going to be able to understand what you need to do in order to be successful. One of the first things that you need to be successful is you have to have a different panda mind or a different mindset than most people have. Most people learn about wealth, or they learn about creating income, or they even learn about savings from probably their family. And we need to discuss that because that's really important. What happens is a lot of families, since there are no schooling that you can go to that the government allows, the U.S. government allows for you to teach and actually learn how to be successful, when you reach college, there's financing and there's accounting, but those are basic concepts. And the whole concept is for you to get a job and for you to work and to you to be part of that, endless train that you're riding on, your endless walking cycle that you're running on, like at a gym. That's the system that's set up for you. So most people learn from their relatives. I mean, they don't really have any place to go that they can learn, and it's sad. I mean, now we have YouTube, and I'm here, and there are other people here that can train you. But they get their information from their parents. And their parents always talked about when they grew up, they worked a job for 30 years. Or, if it's a younger family, then they worked a job for 15 years. But there was always some sort of pension, I guess you want to call it. And the pension in their mind, of course, now today, if you want to call it that, is a 401k. But in the past, they worked a long time, they got on a job. This is the mindset of America today. And then they worked for 30 years, and then they got a little small gold pin. I don't have one here, but, basically it's what they got. And then they got a pension. Now, their pensions average somewhere in the neighborhood of about maybe 75-80% of their actual income. And if they were married, their spouse would get it upon their death. They would usually split in half. And I learned that from personal experience from my parents, because that's exactly what happened to my mother when my father passed. And, basically that's the mindset. So somehow or another, people have contributed 401ks as being the modern day pension. But it's not a modern day pension. It's not any type of a pension. Basically, it's a chunk of change that I discussed for earlier, that basically, if you can get, and if you retire prior to the market changing so that, less needs to be paid out in this particular sphere, once you take the taxes off, then you're expected, here's some money, go off, see you. And then they're done with you. And then that's it. A pension, you get paid every year for the rest of your life. So now we're in a scenario now to mastermind your income. You need to figure out a way, how am I going to get a pension? There's only one tool that I know of that is in a pension. Well, actually there's two. The first one would be actually creating those different sources of income. And I talked about that earlier in one of the prior videos. And one person who really gets really well with it, and you can check out hers link, is Vanessa Lau. And she talks about different types of incomes and the internet. Today, it's really hard not to be able to make an extra source of income unless you just really don't want to. And I discussed that in one of the prior videos. I only want to work my job. I only want to work 9 to 5. That's it. I don't want to do anything else. That's great. And then I explain how you could go ahead and try to put a money together in order to have some sort of income in your retirement. But the mastermind is you need to break away from the family reasoning, because the family reasoning isn't going to help you. I'm so sorry. I hate to tell you these things, but it's the truth. It's just not going to help you. Their mindset is from a different era, and that era's gone. And what we have now is not a pension. So basically, you're going to end up working the rest of your life unless you make some dramatic changes. And we talk about that, as I mentioned, part of a business and habit, and it's called InStar Alliance. And I gave you the phone number if you lived in the DC area, which was 703-646-3941. And we have different investment programs that we offer clients so that they can start to burn down their debt in order to become financially free, much less even think of having a pension or something to live on in their later years. Residual income is always going to be best, and I talked a lot about it at the very beginning. What was the best way of making residual income? But if you don't have the time to do it, it's really difficult, which would have been working with the stock market. Still today, like I said before, Warren Buffett is awesome. He proves to you that if that's all you did, you can make a whole lot of money with it. And there's no doubt about that. And he's one of the wealthiest men here in the country. There's no doubt about that as well. But my point here is, in order for you to put money together, you need to have a game plan. And the first thing is, you got to pull away from the family mindset. Family mindset is a wonderful mindset. It's a brilliant reasoning that they want to try to help you. Oh, if you do this, or oh, that you want to do this. And I have nothing against listening to family, but you have to take it with a grain of salt. So my advice to you today is, first, you need to think out of the box. Second, if you can find the time to set up one of these residual incomes, that would be great. But I realize a lot of people just have a busy life. They work, their jobs, they're very demanding, they're very stressful, they don't have time. And like I said, we have investment plans that people can use to help put money together. And I discussed that in the last one. But my point today here is, please, 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 try to not think that a 401k or an IRA is going to save you. Don't think that if you put that money in, yes, I know, they go ahead and they supplement it or whatever. That system was never designed for you to become A, financially free, B, even have an income or a retirement, and C, it is not a pension. And D, Social Security was never designed ever to be your retirement pension. Most people think that, oh, I have Social Security. I'm telling you, the type of lifestyle that you're living, you're going to find out very sadly after a year or two, when you get down to retirement, which I believe now is 68, and you're going to find out the most hardest way that Social Security is not going to cover you, all your expenses and the lifestyle that you had hoped for. It just won't. And a lot of people are hoping on it. Social Security is going to save me. No, Social Security is not going to save you. 401 is not going to save you. IRA is not going to save you. Anything that's connected to the market, has volatility, it's not going to save you. You have to have private. You have to have these programs. They have different types of investment programs that are for the public. Working through whole life plans. Having annuities. These things. Putting money into these things. You have to mastermind yourself. You've got to set up a game plan. You've got to stop listening to people who can't help you anymore. Like I said, nothing wrong with your relatives, but they're from a different era. They're not from the era that you need to be thinking is, which is multiple sources of different income if I can put it together, if I have the time to do it, if I want to do it through the internet. If I can't do it through the internet, then I need to stop investing in these federal programs. These federal programs are going to kill you. They're going to kill you. Because like I said, in the end, you're probably going to ink it to about 68, because that's when the government tells you that you should retire. You go ahead and then you retire and realize, A, that little bit of money that the IRA or the 401k if it didn't get affected by the market, which is incredibly rare because it's being affected every eighth. So 1998, it was an incident. 2008, another incident. Of course, as we know, the more present incident would have been in 2018 with this China and Trump trade war. And these markets get affected. Once they get affected, then they drop back. And basically, people think, oh, I know what's going to happen next. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to ride it for the long term. You cannot ride it for the long term. You ride it for the long term. There is no long term. When you're trading, you have to be on top of that trading. And when these different things happen, which I talked about on one of the prior videos, contraction, expansion, trend, when you see all these things happening, that's when you needed to be there to trade. You can buy low and sell high, but most people don't have the time to monitor it during the market hours. They're just at work, they're busy. I mean, the market hours are Monday through Friday. They're not on weekends unless you're trading Forex, and Forex is on a Sunday. And usually, to be honest with you, there's not a lot of activity. It's usually around Wednesday or Thursday that has activity. So basically, my whole point to you today is please, 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 to mastermind your income, change your mindset. Please change your mindset. If you don't change your mindset, what's going to happen? You're going to fall into the list of so many other people in this country. And what happens to them is somewhere in the neighborhood of 70% of them don't have any savings at all. They have their 401k, but that chunk of change don't last long. And then out of the remaining 30%, they have about $10,000 or less in savings. You want to have $1 million in savings. If you watch the last two videos, then you'll learn how to make it happen. But again, you have to have a mindset that the old ways don't work and that you need to try something new. And so many people end up retiring only to re-enter the market again, probably between 69 to 70 after they've come out 68 because they didn't have enough money. And those annuities that I talked about briefly over the last couple of videos, that's your pension. There's no other pensions out here. Your whole concept, your whole mindset is to work towards putting some money in that. And we will discuss that next week. We'll also look into just a more clear laser beam focus that you need to have in order when you invest. You have to have that mindset. You have to have that logic in your mind. And we will discuss that in more detail for next week. But in the meanwhile, I hope you all have a nice, safe week. We're still in the pandemic. I don't know how long this is going to be, but I think it's going to be a while. I think people need to realize that it's going to be a way of life for a while. So while you're in this pandemic, you're going to make the most out of it. And the best thing that you can do is have an open mind towards change. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Always hit the bell. I'm usually doing this video sometime in the afternoon of Sunday, and I usually will have them out probably after 6 p.m. of that day. Anyway, stay safe. See you next week.